If you can hear this, you're alive, and that already makes you rare tonight. This is Ethan Cole in what's left of Portland, Oregon, broadcasting on 91.3 FM and whatever's left of AM 710, from a basement studio that should have been turned into a storage room years ago. It's Sunday night, at least I think it's still Sunday night. We lost the official time when the grid went dark about an hour ago. The last thing the clock on the wall showed was 9:42, and then the face just died, and the second hand froze between ticks, like it got tired halfway through. I'm looking at the city through the small slit of a window above my desk. I can't see much. Just a smudge of orange where downtown used to glow white, and the faint trace of headlights on I-5. Frozen in a line, not moving. No skyscraper lights, no bridges lit up like necklaces, no white glow on the low clouds. Just a dark bowl wrapped around the Willamette, and every few minutes, a flash on the horizon that doesn't come from a thunderstorm. If you're just tuning in, if your radio still works and the batteries haven't died yet, I'm going to say this as straight as I can. It's real. It wasn't a drill. It wasn't a hack. It wasn't some late-night war game that got out of hand and then pulled back. There were real detonations, real fire, real cities that went quiet for good. It started out there, across the ocean, and now it's here with us, in the air, and in the ground, and in the way the night feels heavier than it did yesterday. About 7 hours ago, we got confirmation of multiple nuclear detonations in Eastern Europe. First reports named Kiev, then Warsaw, then a city none of us could pronounce right on the first try. At the time, it sounded far away, like the kind of thing you see in old grainy footage from the Cold War. Not something that happens on a Sunday, while people are out buying groceries and arguing about football. The sirens here in Portland started up 20 minutes later. First the odd test siren, that one long rising wail you hear once a month that everyone ignores. But this time, it didn't cut out. It stayed, and it layered, and more sirens joined it, and suddenly every dog in the city started barking at the same time. You could feel it in your chest, like someone pressing down on your ribs from the inside. The president came on all networks about an hour after that. We had him on the main monitor in the control room, even though cable kept freezing every few seconds. His face glitched and snapped, but the words came through clear enough. National emergency. Strategic strikes. Assured response. Stay indoors. Stay calm. Seek shelter in place. We're doing everything we can. He told everyone to stay away from windows and to get into basements, to put as many walls as they could between themselves and the outside. I watched the text crawl at the bottom of the screen that said, the New York Stock Exchange had suspended trading, that all global markets had done the same, like anyone was still refreshing stock prices while the sky was starting to look like it had teeth. Then the signal cut and never came back. I've had this mic for a long time. I've used it to sell concerts and play indie bands and talk about rain and traffic and local elections no one cared about. I never thought I'd be using it to tell someone hiding in their bathroom how long to hold their breath when they step outside to check on a neighbor. If you're listening right now in Portland, in Gresham, Vancouver, Beaverton, Salem, even farther out in the hills if the signal is bouncing right, I need you to hear this. If your home is still standing, stay in it. Close your windows. Tape up the cracks. Fill every container you have with water. Bathtubs, sinks, pots, anything that holds liquid. If you've got a basement, go there. If you don't, pick the room in the middle of your home with the fewest windows and the thickest walls. Stay away from the skyline. The view is not worth your skin. We're on backup generators now. I can hear them through the floor, a steady low hum under my feet. They're fed by 2 rusted tanks of diesel down in the garage. If we're careful, if we turn everything else off, they'll keep us on air for a while. Not forever, but long enough to tell you what's happening, as long as the antennas stay up on the roof and no one decides that this station looks like a good place to loot. I'm getting texts on the old station phone from numbers I don't recognize, while the network still coughs up a signal. Most of them are short. Are you still on? Is Seattle hit? Is it safe to go outside? One just says, "Please talk. It's too quiet." I'll talk. That's the one thing I can still do that doesn't need a satellite. Let me rewind a bit to the first hints, for anyone who missed the earlier feeds. Around 3 this afternoon, emergency feeds started talking about unusual military activity in Eastern Europe. A vague phrase that usually means someone moved a tank where they shouldn't, or a fighter jet flew too close to a line on a map. Then it shifted to confirmed launches. Satellite imagers picked up plumes from silos across at least 3 continents. They didn't say which ones at first, but you could guess. The usual suspects. By 4:30, the Pentagon had raised its alert level. You could see the color change on the little chart they always use on the news. It might as well have gone from green to skull and crossbones. Air traffic was ordered down over most major cities. Planes were diverted or told to land wherever they could. A lot of them never made it in time. The first flashes overseas were confirmed not long after. Not tactical, not small. Full-yield detonations. They said it plain, and the anchors on every channel tried to keep their voices steady, while they told people that a city they visited on vacation once was now a bright wound staring up into the sky. We kept thinking it was going to stop, that someone would blink, that some last-minute back-channel call would calm every shaking finger hovering over a button. But the launches kept coming, and the only thing we saw from our side were graphs of trajectories, lines arcing over maps, and experts drawing circles on digital globes that overlapped and overlapped until all the colors just turned into a muddy, glowing smear. Here in Portland, it stayed bright a little longer than it should have. People stood outside Powell's and on Hawthorne, staring at their phones, refreshing, posting, arguing as if the comments mattered. Then the sky on the live feeds looked wrong, like someone turned down the saturation. They started talking about dust and ash and upper atmospheric particulates. The phrase nuclear winter came out of someone's mouth, soft at first, then louder. The last reliable world casualty estimate I heard, and this was from a shaky feed from what was left of a news studio in London, put the number at 47 million within the first day. That number is a lie now, not because it was wrong then, but because it's too small now. It doesn't cover the hospitals that lost power, the highways that turned into parking lots, the neighborhoods that burned because there was no one left to turn off the gas. I promised you real details, not just big numbers. So here's one. In Denver, the hospital where my brother worked as a paramedic is gone. The blast took the whole district. They didn't say that on any feed. I know because he tried to call. The signal came through halfway. The first time, all I heard was heavy breathing and the sound of sirens. Then it cut off. The second time, I got a fragment of his voice saying my name and the words bright and too fast. And then nothing but a tone that wouldn't stop. I waited for the system to tell me the call had failed. It never bothered. If anyone's picking this up in Colorado, if you somehow made it through that, I'm thinking of you. I'm thinking of every person sitting under a table in some basement in Denver, waiting to see if the ceiling holds. You've probably noticed your phone struggling. Calls not going through. Texts hanging with that little spinning bar. That's not just congestion, A good chunk of the communications network is gone. Fiber cut, towers fried by EMP. The internet is not down like when your router acts up and you reboot it. In a lot of places, it doesn't exist anymore. No cables, no routers, no data centers. Just melted racks and smoke. We're running off a local antenna, an old transmitter that should have been replaced 10 years ago, but never was because that was always next year's budget. It turns out the old, simple stuff is what hangs on the longest. This signal doesn't need a satellite, just a clear enough path and enough power to push my voice out through the dark. All right, enough of me talking in a straight line. I said I'd make this a real broadcast. We're going to try something that might or might not work, depending on how fried the phone network is where you are. If you're out there and your phone still has juice, dial the station number you know by heart if you've lived here long enough. 503-555-1987. Don't expect it to work, but try. If it rings through and I pick up, you're live. No screener, no delay. There's no one else left up here in the booth. While we wait to see if any calls get through, let me give you a quick picture of what's happening here on the ground in Portland. The power went out in chunks, not all at once. First a block, then a district, then half the city, and finally the rest. Traffic lights died, and for a while, people tried to treat them like four-way stops, out of habit, until more sirens started up and everyone just pushed through every intersection like they were being chased. I can still see a slice of I-5 from this window. Traffic froze an hour ago. Some of the cars have their doors open now. People left them and started walking. The MAX trains are stuck in place. Quiet lines of metal stretching over the bridge. Dark and still. Somewhere down there, I know there's at least one train full of people who heard about a launch that may or may not be aimed at Seattle and are wondering if the glow they see to the north is a reflection or something real. City officials. Well, I'd love to tell you that there's a neat chain of command and everything is under control, but if you've tried to call any city hotline, you know better. The last feed we got out of City Hall was a shaky press conference in a dim room, lit by a single generator-fed lamp. The mayor told everyone to stay inside, promised that order would be maintained, and then the mic cut and never came back. That was 3 hours ago. No updates since. I've heard reports of looting downtown. Big stores first, electronics, pharmacies, places with easy grabs. But I've also heard the other side. Neighbors on the east side pooling canned food and propane and trading flashlight batteries for baby formula. A group on Mississippi Avenue supposedly opened their coffee shop, not to sell anything, but to boil water and hand out whatever they had left to anyone with a container. If you're out there doing that kind of thing, you're the only thing standing between tonight and something much darker. Hold on to that. Don't let anyone tell you that everyone is out for themselves. It's never been true, and it's not true now. The screen in front of me just flashed. I've got a call trying to push through. I'm going to answer it. Hello? You're on the air. Can you hear me? A long hiss, then a voice, thin and warped by a bad line. Yeah, I hear you. Is this Ethan? Yeah. Who's this? Name's Marcus. I'm in Vancouver. Washington, not Canada. Just across the river. Or what's left of it. I take a breath. You're live, Marcus. How's it look over there? He laughs, but there's no humor. Dark. The bridge is jammed. People got out of their cars and started walking on foot. Saw one guy pushing a stroller between the lanes with a flashlight in his mouth. The river looks wrong. There's this film on it like an oil slick, but it's glowing. That normal? No, Marcus? That's not normal. You near shelter? Yeah, my cousin's place has a basement. We've got like 10 people down here. Kids, old folks, the works. We've got some food. Not much water, though. We filled the tub, but the pressure cut out halfway through. We heard Seattle got hit. You heard that too? Here's the part where I have to choose between soothing and truth. I promised you truth. Yeah, Marcus. I've heard unconfirmed reports of a detonation near Seattle's south side. Not downtown, but close enough. I don't have hard data. The feeds cut too fast. But there was a bright flash picked up by multiple satellites, and then everything went dark up there. He's quiet for a beat. I can hear someone else in the background asking him something in Spanish. Okay, he says. Okay. So this is real, not going away in the morning. It's real. But listen to me, Marcus. You're in a basement with walls around you. You filled the tub. That's good. Keep everyone inside as much as you can for the next day at least. If you have any masks, even cheap ones, use them if you have to go upstairs. Use wet cloths if you don't. Don't stand in the rain if it starts. Don't touch dust on the windowsills with bare hands. And ration that water. Little sips, not big gulps. Got it. Hey, Ethan. You gonna stay on air? As long as the generator runs and the antennas stand, Marcus. He lets out another tight laugh. Then we'll be here. We've got a little battery radio. Old thing my uncle used on fishing trips. Guess it's the most valuable thing we own now. The line clicks and dies without a goodbye. Either he hung up, or the network did it for him. That's the thing that keeps hitting me. How many of tonight's conversations just stop? No, see you later, no sign-offs. Just silence. Like someone hitting mute on whole parts of the planet. All right. Let's talk about the stuff you can't see from your window. The invisible parts. The scientists on the feeds earlier talked about fallout paths. They showed how the wind would pull dust from one side of the world to the other, like smoke from a giant cigarette that no one could put out. They showed models of what the sky will look like in a week. Darker in the middle of the day, like a storm that never quite breaks. We've already had reports of ashfall east of here. Light at first, like gray snow. It's not snow. Don't let your kids play in it. Don't write your name in it. It's not a movie. It gets into your lungs and your blood, and it stays there. If it starts falling where you are, get inside. If you have plastic sheets, put them over vents. If you've got duct tape, this is what you were secretly saving it for all along. I'm not a physicist. I can't give you the exact half-lives and microsieverts. But I know enough to tell you that the first hours are the worst close to ground zero, and that after a day or two, the levels drop enough that short trips outside become possible if you're far from the main blast zones. Not safe, not really, but possible. That's your window to get more water, more food, to move if you're in a fragile building. We're far enough from the nearest known target that we're not in the immediate blast radius. But the winds are a wild card. The Columbia Gorge is a funnel, and whatever gets caught in that funnel is going to get spread over a wide stretch of Oregon and Washington. If someone out there is keeping charts, if any of the meteorologists at KPTV or KGW or the Weather Service office on any 122nd are still alive and listening, I'd love for you to call in and tell us what you're seeing. In the meantime, all I can say is, watch the sky, but from behind glass. The screen flashes again. Another incoming call. I pick it up. You're on the air? Who's this? Hi. My name is Hannah. I'm in Salem. Her voice shakes, but it's clear. The line's better this time. Maybe the route is shorter. Hi, Hannah. You're live. How are things in Salem? It's weird. The power went out about an hour ago. We can still see a glow to the north. My dad says it's probably Portland, but it doesn't look right. It flickers. I can still hear sirens far away. We stacked mattresses in the hallway. My little brother is asleep under the dining table. I can't sleep. Most people can't sleep tonight, I say. Do you have water stored? Yeah. Mom made us fill every pot and pan in the bathtub. She keeps checking the taps like maybe they'll turn back on if she tries enough times. We have some food, canned stuff. I keep checking my phone. My boyfriend is in Denver. He went there for a job 2 months ago. I can't reach him. Is it true what you said earlier? About Denver? I close my eyes for a second. Hannah, I don't have a full picture. I know there was a large detonation near Denver. I know that emergency services there went quiet. That's all I know. No one's come back on to correct it, and that scares me. I'm not going to lie to you. It doesn't look good. But as long as you haven't heard otherwise, hold on to a tiny piece of hope. Communications are down. Not all silence means death. She sniffles. He sent me a photo this morning of fresh snow in the mountains. It looked so normal. I can't understand how it went from that to this in one day. Neither can I say. But I know that right now, the best way to honor him, whatever his situation is to keep yourself alive, to listen to your mom, to stay in that hallway, away from the windows, to eat small amounts and keep your brother calm when he wakes up scared. You can't fix Denver from Salem, but you can make sure Salem has one more person ready to help when people start coming out of their basements. She's quiet for a moment. Okay, we're listening to you on a little radio my grandpa had. I think he used it for baseball games. He grew up hearing stories about the Cold War. He always said this was going to happen one day. We laughed at him. I wish we hadn't. Grandpas who grew up with drills under their desks had a different kind of wisdom, I say. If he's there with you, tell him he was right. Then tell him you're going to prove that being right doesn't mean the end of the story. He's asleep on the couch, she says, voice cracking a little. I'll tell him in the morning, if there is a morning. There will be. It might look different. The sky might be the wrong color, and the air might feel heavy. But there will be a morning. You just have to be there to see it. Stay safe, Hannah. Thank you, she whispers, and the line goes dead. I sit back and let the silence in the studio press against my eardrums for a second. The only sound is the low hum of the generator and the faint rattle of something loose in the ceiling every time a distant tremor shakes the ground. If you're listening and you're alone, I want you to know this. You're not actually alone. You're one of many small dots of light in a big, dark map that no one is updating anymore. Every time you breathe slowly instead of panicking, every time you share a can of soup with a neighbor, every time you decide to tape another seam instead of giving up, you're part of the thin line holding what's left of us together. Let's talk about what happens next, because that's the part most people are too scared to deal with. The immediate blasts have happened in a lot of places, maybe not all of them. There might still be launches underway, but the big first wave seems to have hit. What we're in now is the early phase of something bigger, infrastructure collapse. In the next day or so, you're going to notice things you never thought about stopping. Garbage pickup will stop. Running water will slow and then stop in more places. Gas stations that still have fuel in the ground will be unable to pump it without power. Hospitals that lost backup generators will move from organized chaos to just chaos. Pharmacies will be empty, either from looting or from desperate people taking what they think they need. Police radio bands, for as long as they're alive, will get less and less structured. It doesn't mean there's no one trying. There are people out there in uniforms, in ambulances, in fire trucks, still doing their jobs longer than anyone could ask them to. But they're outnumbered. The system they depend on is broken in 20 different ways at once. So you can't wait for the authorities to fix this. You have to think small, street by street, building by building, family by family. If you are lucky or paranoid enough to prepare for something like this, now is the time to quietly, carefully put that preparation to use. Notice I said quietly. This is not the moment to brag about your stockpile. This is not the moment to post a photo of your water barrels and your shelves of canned beans, even if the internet in your pocket still pretends to be alive. Keep what you have. Share with people close to you if you can do so safely. But don't advertise. Hungry people panic. And panicking people do stupid, violent things. The screen blinks again, but this time it's not a call. It's a short, garbled text from a contact I saved years ago as Station Tech Jim. Jim's one of our engineers. The text is short. Grid gone. Substation fire. Stay on gen. Watch diesel. More later. So there you go. Confirmation that what you've already guessed is true. The regional power grid has failed completely. This isn't a rolling blackout. It's not some control room somewhere flipping a switch. The hardware itself is burning. Transformers don't come back from that. They have to be replaced, and the factories that make them might not even exist anymore. We are officially on our own power. If you're in a house with a generator, treat it like a beating heart. Don't run it more than you have to. Don't use it to watch old shows or play games to pass the time, no matter how tempting it is. Use it for light when you need it, for keeping food cold if you absolutely must, and for powering radios. Information keeps you alive longer than a rerun ever will. Let me tell you something about my wife. Her name was Kara. She was a pediatric nurse at a hospital in the west side of the city. The kind of person who kept stickers in her pocket for kids who'd just had blood drawn. The kind of person who remembered which stuffed animal belonged to which kid even when the parents forgot. She was at work when the first overseas detonations happened. She texted me a photo of her and 3 other nurses standing in a hallway, all with masks loosely hanging around their necks, making tired faces at the camera. She wrote, "World ending. Still got vitals to check." I haven't heard from her in 6 hours. The last message from her came about the time the sirens started here. It just said, "We're keeping the kids in the basement. Parents can't get through traffic. Tell them we're trying." Then nothing. No read receipts, no typing dots, no little chime that says she sent a heart or a joke. I figure you and I are close enough now that I can say this. I am broadcasting because I can't help her. I can't drive through this city right now without running into 100 roadblocks, real or invisible. I can't carry enough water in the back of my car to make a difference. I can't turn back time. All I can do is sit in this chair and turn my fear into sentences that might stop you from making one decision that gets you killed. So yes, part of this is selfish. Talking into this mic is the only thing keeping me from screaming. If I'm going to scream, I might as well do it in a way that helps someone. We're getting closer to midnight now, I think. Hard to tell without any digital clock shining back at me. The sky outside the slit window looks darker than it should, but there's this strange glow near the horizon to the north. as if a second sunset got stuck and refused to leave. I can't hear any more sirens. That might mean less new disasters, or it might just mean the siren's power died, or that there's no one left to flip the switches. If you're outside the immediate blast zones, the next 12 to 24 hours are crucial. This is your adjustment period. Your old world has already ended. Your new one hasn't settled into its shape yet. The habits you build now will decide how that shape looks. Here's what I want you to do before you let yourself sleep, if you can sleep. Not optional. If you're listening to my voice, I am now that annoying friend who gives you homework. 1. Do a final sweep of your home for anything that can hold water. Fill it. Bowls, pitchers, pots, vases, clean trash cans. Fill them. If the water is still running, it might not be for long. You don't want to be the person licking condensation off the inside of a window tomorrow because you assumed taps were eternal. 2. Gather everyone into the safest room you have. Inside walls, lowest floor, minimal windows. If you're in an apartment on a high floor, go to the stairwell with your neighbors if you trust them. Stairwells are usually concrete, thicker than apartment walls. Yes, it's awkward. Yes, you don't know their names. Learn them. 3. Make a list. On actual paper. Pens still work even if the grid doesn't. Write down the names of the people you know and love, where they were the last time you heard from them, and anything you know about their situation. It doesn't change their fate, but it gives you a map for later. When the dust settles a little and networks come back in bits and pieces, you'll want that list. 4. Set a watch if you're in a group. One person stays awake while others sleep, and you rotate every couple of hours. Not because some monster is going to climb through the window, but because emergencies don't schedule themselves, and it's better if someone's eyes are open when something breaks. 5. If you have weapons, store them safely. I'm not here to tell you how to run your home, but I'll say this. More people die from scared hands on triggers than from the threats they were trying to fight. Don't aim anything at anyone unless you're absolutely sure there's no other choice. All right. I've given you enough instructions for one block. Let's take another call. You're on the air with Ethan. Who's this? Hey, name's Drew. I'm calling from a truck stop off I-84 near Troutdale. Or what used to be a truck stop, I guess. How's it there, Drew? Crowded, dark. We got about 20 rigs parked out back. Nobody's moving because the highway ahead is blocked by a pileup. The pumps are dead, so nobody can top off. The clerk left an hour ago, just walked out with a backpack and didn't say a word. A bunch of us drivers are inside, sitting at the booths. Someone lit candles. Looks like a cheap vigil. We've got a radio behind the counter. That's how we found you. How's the mood? Mixed. Some guys want to smash open the storage and grab everything. Others are saying we should guard it and ration it. One guy tried to pull a gun earlier when someone else took an extra bag of chips. A few of us talked him down. For now. I keep thinking about how many tons of food are just trapped in these trailers, sitting on rubber wheels going nowhere. Are you a long-haul driver? Yeah. Came up from California yesterday. Was supposed to get to Spokane tonight. Guess that's off the table. Drew, you and the others are sitting on a lot of power, even if your engines are off. You have supplies. You have shelter. You have diesel in those tanks. If you can organize instead of turning on each other, you can ride this out better than most. He snorts. We're truckers, man. Organizing is not usually what we do. We're used to being alone in a cab for hours. Maybe, I say, but you also know how to plan routes, estimate fuel, manage time, That's logistics. That's exactly what a small, desperate group needs right now. If you can get a few of the calmer heads there to take charge of supplies, make a fair system. You stop it from turning into a free-for-all. What about the people who decide they don't like the system? Then you have a choice. Either you let them wreck it for everyone, or you draw a line. You don't have to turn into a movie gang, but you might have to say no and mean it. I'd start with talking. Explain that the food will last longer if everyone gets some. Make it clear that anyone who tries to walk away with more than their share is threatening the entire group. He's quiet for a second. Sounds like you've thought about this. I talk for a living, I say. Talking is the toothbrush of civilization. If you stop doing it, everything rots. Keep talking, keep listening, and maybe move the most volatile people toward the edges of the group where they can cool off, not in the middle where they can stir everyone up. He lets out a breath. All right, I'll try. Good to know someone's out there. I'm going to put you on the big speaker so everyone can hear. Do that and tell them this. The world just reset. No one is just anything anymore. Not just a driver, or just a clerk, or just a barista. Whatever you know how to do, that's your survival skill now. Use it. The line clicks off. I lean closer to the mic. To the driver at that truck stop, to the nurse holding a kid's hand in a dark basement ward, to the old man in an armchair who never thought he'd live to see this, to the teenager in a dorm who's pretending not to be scared so their roommate doesn't freak out. I see you, even if I can't see your face. You're who I'm talking to. You're why I'm ignoring the tremors in my own hands and staying in this chair. Outside, somewhere deep in the city, something booms. Not a nuclear blast, just an explosion. Gas main, maybe, or a transformer dying loud. The sound rolls through the ground and makes the cheap blinds on the tiny window shiver. We're only in the first hours of this thing. The first day of what might be weeks, months, years of fallout, both literal and human. At some point soon, the global casualty numbers will be revised upward to something that will make your brain shut down for a second just to protect itself. They'll talk about billions. They'll talk about the collapse of traditional nation states. They'll use phrases like failed governance structures and decentralized survival communities. But for you, none of that matters as much as the next 12 inches around your body, the next breath, the next meal. Here's my promise. As long as my voice can reach you, I'll stay with you through it. I'll tell you what I hear. I'll share what little science I can remember from high school, plus notes from people smarter than me if they manage to call in. I'll grieve with you when we lose people. I'll celebrate when someone figures out how to grow lettuce under a flashlight in a basement. And I'll keep reminding you that as long as you're breathing, the story isn't over. This is Ethan Cole in Portland, signing off for this block, but not for the night. If your radio stays alive, stay tuned. I'll be back on this same frequency as soon as I can, with more news from the ruins, and I hope more voices besides my own. I'm back. Not sure how long I was gone. Might have been 5 minutes, might have been 20. Hard to tell down here with no clocks and no sun. Just the hum of the generator and the slow creep of cold across the concrete floor. The temperature's dropping faster than I expected. Not a normal night chill, more like something pulling the warmth out of the air on purpose. I moved a little portable lantern closer to the desk. Its light is too white, too sharp, makes the shadows look like cracks. The walls feel closer now. Maybe that's because the building above me isn't as solid as it used to be. I keep hearing small rattles, like screws shifting, or a panel somewhere loosening with each small tremor. If you're still with me, if your radio still has enough juice to pull in this signal, I'm going to walk you through what we know now, what I'm seeing, and what's coming next. I'm talking to keep myself steady too. The silence in here presses in if I go quiet for too long. A few minutes ago, or whatever unit of time we're calling minutes now, I heard what I think was another gas explosion somewhere south of the river. It was deep, like someone punching the earth from underneath. The sound rolled for a long time before fading. I don't think anyone's putting out fires right now, not because they don't want to, but because they can't. Fire trucks need water pressure. Pressure needs pumps. Pumps need power. And power is a rumor tonight. I went and checked the stairwell a moment ago. The building doesn't shake with every tremor, but it groans. Like it's tired. Like it remembers what it was built for, and knows this wasn't it. If you feel that in your own home, that slow settling, that groaning, don't panic. Buildings shift when the temperature drops fast. They shift when the grid collapses and everything cools at the same time. Just pay attention. If any cracks widen, move away from that area. But don't go outside unless you have to. The fallout risk is still high, and the winds are wrong. The gorge wind is carrying stuff westward tonight, instead of east, like it usually does. That's bad news for most of Portland. I've gotten a few more texts that somehow squeezed through the broken network. I'll read pieces of them without names, because I don't know if the people on the other end want their voices attached to this. One says, "Smoke in the air here. Dog won't stop barking. Is this fallout?" If the smoke smells strange, metallic, chemical, or just wrong, assume it's not normal wildfire smoke. Don't breathe it in. Close windows. Stuff towels under doors. Use a wet cloth over your mouth if you have to move around the house. Dogs know when something in the air isn't right. Trust them. Another one. No more water. Faucet dry. How long can we last? Depends on how much you stored. Conservatively, you need 1 to 2 liters a day just to stay alive. Less if you ration hard, more if you live somewhere hot. Here in the Northwest, the cold might slow dehydration, but it also makes people panic and forget to drink. Take small sips every hour if you can. Another text. Power company voicemail says maintenance. Are they lying? They're not lying. They're gone. Or the system is so shredded that whatever automated message was last recorded is all that's left. No one is fixing anything tonight. And tomorrow won't be better. Don't wait for official updates. There won't be any. I'm watching the horizon from this tiny window. That strange orange glow has widened. Could be fire spreading. Could be reflections bouncing off smoke and dust. Could be something I don't want to name yet. Either way, if you're north of the city, stay alert. Let me tell you something small, because it's the little details that keep a person from going numb. There's a cup on this desk. I keep seeing it out of the corner of my eye. It's an old station mug with chipped paint and the logo half rubbed off. It used to belong to a DJ who worked the morning show back when I first started here. She always left lipstick stains on the rim, every color you could think of. I used to joke that her coffee had more pigment than the paint in our studio. She moved to Chicago a few years ago. I don't know if Chicago is still breathing tonight. That cup is empty now, but for some reason, having it there makes this room feel less dead. I keep reaching for it out of habit. Humans cling to habits when the world goes sideways. If you have something like that, a mug, a stuffed toy, a necklace, a folded note, keep it near you. It stops you from drifting too far into fear. The generator just coughed. Only once, but it was sharp enough to make me sit up straighter. I don't like that sound. Diesel levels are low. I know that without even checking. You can smell it faintly through the vents. That thin, oily scent when the tank runs near the bottom. If I lose the generator, I lose the transmitter. If I lose the transmitter, I lose you. And right now, the thought of losing you feels like losing the last thread holding me above the dark. Let's keep going. Earlier tonight, before the last internet fragments died, someone posted a chart showing major global detonations confirmed by satellite. I only saw it for a few seconds before the image wouldn't load again, but the dots on the map were burned into my mind. Over a dozen in Eastern Europe, several across Eurasia, at least 2 in East Asia, 1 near the Middle East, a few scattered across the US, Denver near the top of the list, then 1 in Southern California, another near the southeast coast. I couldn't confirm all of them, but the pattern was enough to know this wasn't isolated. This isn't regional. It's global. The last broadcast from overseas said the same thing. This isn't a border conflict. It's a chain reaction with no one left to slam the brakes. I'm not saying this to scare you. You're already scared. I'm saying it because pretending otherwise won't save anyone. If you're in a basement right now, curled under blankets or huddled on a cold floor, wondering if the air outside is poison, you're doing the right thing. Stay put. Staying put is survival. We're about 8 or 9 hours into the first wave of global collapse. I wish that was an exaggeration. I used to hear people talk about collapse like it was a concept, like something that took decades of slow decay. Turns out it's faster. All it takes is a few detonations and a few panicked decisions, and a few missed chances to de-escalate, and the entire planet's systems fold in on themselves like cheap cardboard. But collapse isn't the same as extinction. People survive things they shouldn't. They huddle, they scrape by, they share food in the dark, and those people rebuild later. Maybe not into what we had, but into something. I'm pausing because I just heard something outside. Not an explosion, not a tremor. Voices. It's faint. Maybe a block away. Can't tell if they're arguing or calling for someone. The sound moves like wind. There, then gone, then back in another spot. Could be people looking for shelter. Could be looters. Could be someone calling for help. My instinct is to go upstairs and check. But I won't. Not because I'm scared, though I am, but because leaving this mic right now would make the world quieter when it needs noise the most. Let me give you a picture of the larger situation, based on what I know from the last confirmed feeds before the internet collapsed. Anti-missile defense systems were activated across multiple countries. Some interceptions were confirmed. Bright trails caught on camera streaking across the sky. Detonations in midair that were supposed to prevent worse ones below. But the systems weren't perfect. They never were. Too many launches, too many decoys, too many real warheads hidden among false signatures. The phrase, strategic assets compromised, floated across one feed before it cut. That usually means military infrastructure, bases, silos, the backbone of national defense. If those go down early, the response becomes messy, desperate. Then there was the brief presidential broadcast. I keep replaying it in my head, his face flickering, audio cracking, every syllable sounding like it came from a sinking ship. He didn't look like a man in control. He looked like someone who had just been handed a truth too large to swallow. A lot of people out there are waiting for leadership to kick in. for the government to step forward with instructions, for FEMA trucks to roll in, for the National Guard to appear on street corners and hand out blankets. Maybe that'll happen somewhere, in pockets, in places far from major targets. But for most of us, what we have tonight is all we're going to have for a long while. A lone radio voice in a city lit by fire. Another incoming call. The screen flashes weakly, like the phone is struggling to breathe. I answer. "You're on with Ethan. Who's this?" A pause. Then a man's voice, low and shaky. "Name's, Leonard. I'm calling from Hillsborough, I think. Hard to tell. Streets are unmarked in the dark." "How are things where you are, Leonard?" "Bad. Or, no, not bad. Just scary. My neighborhood's quiet. Too quiet. A transformer blew earlier and lit up the whole street like a camera flash. After that, everything went dark. I walked outside to check on my neighbor. Old guy. Lives alone. But halfway up the driveway, I smelled something strange, like burning metal and wet dirt. Then I remembered what you said earlier about the dust. I ran back inside. You did the right thing. Don't go outside unless you have to, especially if you see or smell anything unusual. I know, but here's why I'm calling. I heard something about radiation levels? Someone on the radio earlier, before they cut out, talked about measurements and safe windows. I don't have a Geiger counter. How do I know if my house is safe? You won't know exact numbers without equipment, I say, but you can take precautions. Keep as many walls between you and the outside as possible. Move to the center of your home or the lowest level. Avoid the attic or upper floors. Keep windows closed and sealed. If you have a fireplace, close the flue. Don't let air from outside seep in." Okay, I've done most of that. I moved the couch in front of the big window just in case. My dog keeps pacing. She keeps wincing at the door like she hears something I don't. Animals pick up on changes faster than we do. Keep her close. Don't let her outside. Not even for a minute. I won't. Thanks. One more thing. You said earlier that some cities were hit. Portland wasn't, right? No confirmed strike on Portland. We're dealing with fallout and secondary effects, but not a direct hit. Good. My sister's in Beaverton. She's probably huddled in her living room right now with candles and sweaters. I can't reach her. But if you say there wasn't a hit... I'm not saying everything's fine, I interrupt gently. But Beaverton isn't in a blast zone. She has a chance. Cell networks are broken everywhere. Don't assume silence means the worst. Right. Okay. Thank you. Please, keep talking. It helps. The line cuts. I sit there a moment, listening to the hum of the generator and the faint whisper of static in my headphones. Talking helps. For him. For me. For anyone who needs a voice in the dark. We're going to keep pushing forward. Now let's talk about what comes next. Not today, not tonight, but tomorrow morning and the days that follow. In the early phase after nuclear detonations, the fallout particles are heaviest. They settle fast. The air looks hazy, like fog that forgot how to move. In some places, the ash clumps on rooftops like dirty snow. It drifts into gutters. It makes the world look quiet in a way that feels wrong. By tomorrow morning, if the winds don't shift again, we might see some of that here. If you wake up and see a gray dust on your porch or car or windowsill, don't touch it. Don't sweep it with a dry broom. Don't open the door to look closer. Just stay inside. The radiation levels drop significantly after a day or two, but the first 24 hours are rough. If you're keeping track of time by listening to me talk, drink some water now, just a sip. Keep your throat from drying out. People forget to hydrate when they're scared. We're reaching the part of the night when shock starts turning into something else. Some people will get angry. Some will go numb. Some will pick fights over small things. Some will cling to routines like lifelines. All of these reactions are normal. But don't let the anger win. Anger makes you stupid. Stupid gets you dead. If you're with a group, make a quiet agreement with each other. No shouting, no panic spirals. If someone starts to lose it, talk to them softly. Ground them. Get them to focus on their breathing. This isn't about being calm for the sake of calm. It's about keeping your thinking clear enough to make the right choices. You're going to hear things in the next day. Rumors, screams, distant sirens, maybe gunshots. Don't run toward noises. Don't try to be a hero outside the walls of your home. Survival first. Everything else later. The generator coughs again, but steadier this time. I tap the gauge on the panel. The needle wobbles, then settles lower. Not good. I'll have to ration the broadcast, but not yet. Not until you have more information. Let's talk about communications. The internet is down in most places. Not slow, not spotty. Down. Like someone pulled the central nervous system out of the world. Cell towers either fried or overloaded. Satellite networks might hold on longer, but only for governments and select military channels. That means this radio broadcast, this old, dusty, analog signal, is one of the last things keeping people connected. If you're listening, don't wander too far from your radio. Keep it close. Keep spare batteries safe. Don't use them on anything but the essentials. You might be wondering about contamination outside your home, about how safe it will be days from now. The truth is, after a few days, the worst of the radiation decays. You won't be able to stroll the streets like nothing happened, but short trips to gather supplies or check on neighbors might become possible. You'll still need protection, masks, long sleeves, gloves. But at least you won't be stepping into the invisible teeth of fresh fallout. Weeks from now, the skies may stay dim, temperatures will drop, crops will fail in some regions. That's the beginning of nuclear winter. But that's not tonight. Tonight is about staying alive long enough to face tomorrow. I'm pausing again because I'm hearing something outside. Not voices this time. A distant hum. Low. Mechanical. Could be a helicopter. Could be a plane. Could be nothing but wind playing tricks on the ears. Hard to tell with this much dust in the air. Nobody should be flying tonight. But emergency craft don't follow normal rules. Maybe someone's still trying to ferry injured people from one broken city to another. Maybe someone's looking for fires to put out. Maybe someone's just trying to get home. I hope they're safe. I'll keep talking until I run out of things to say, or until the generator dies, or until something outside breaks the stillness in a way I can't ignore. But we're not there yet. We're going to take another call if one comes through. But until then, I'm going to tell you something I've been avoiding, because saying it feels too heavy, but keeping it inside feels heavier. I haven't heard from my wife again. I keep tapping the screen on my phone, even though the battery is almost gone. The last message from her is frozen on the screen. That text about the kids in the basement of the hospital. Her name sits above it like a ghost. Every time I look at it, a part of me breaks a little more. But another part holds on because if I close it, if I lock the screen, it feels too final. If you're out there clinging to a name on a phone screen, I understand. Hold it close. But don't let it break you. Not tonight. We're going to get through this night together, even if we're miles apart. This is Ethan. I'm still here, and I'm not going anywhere. I don't know how long I sat here staring at the wall before I realized my hand was shaking. Not the kind of shake you get when you're cold, but the kind you get when your nerves are stretched like wires pulled too tight. I keep flattening my palm on the desk, pressing it down until the tremor stops. Doesn't stay gone for long. There's a sound outside again. Not voices this time. Something metallic dragging along asphalt. Slow. Inconsistent. Maybe wind pushing a loose street sign. Maybe someone pulling a cart. Maybe something else entirely. I keep trying to ignore it, but every scrape feels like it's crawling down my spine. If you're hearing noises where you are, things you can't fully place, don't rush to your windows. Don't open the door to check. Keep the outside outside. Sounds change when a city goes dark. They stretch and bend in ways you're not used to. A distant gate slamming can feel like it's right behind you. A trash can tipping over can sound like a scream. Your mind fills in the blanks with whatever it fears the most. Stay grounded. Breathe steady. I'm looking around this studio, taking in the details, because grounding helps, and maybe it'll help you too. The walls are lined with gray foam panels. Not the fancy kind, just cheap squares glued up years ago to muffle echo. A few have peeled at the corners from humidity. There's a poster on the back wall advertising a concert from 3 summers ago, a band that used to come through Portland all the time. They haven't been here since the fires 2 years back. The paper's curled now, edges brown from age and dust. It flutters a little every time the generator wavers. There's a stack of CDs on the shelf beside me. Actual CDs. Plastic cases with cracked hinges. Nobody uses them anymore, but we kept them out of nostalgia. I used to joke that if the apocalypse ever came, the CDs would outlive us all. Now they're sitting there like silent witnesses to the fact that I was right without wanting to be. The chair I'm in is old and squeaks every time I shift. The armrests are worn smooth. I've spent so many nights sitting in it, joking about traffic or reading dumb news stories. Feels surreal using it like this now, like this was always its real purpose and everything before tonight was just rehearsal. Another vibration rolls through the building. Not a tremor this time. More like a deep pulse of air. Like something heavy moving a long distance away. Not enough to shake anything loose, but enough for the fluorescent lights in the hallway to flicker even though they're not even powered anymore. Could have been another explosion somewhere outside the city. Sound travels weirdly over long distances when the atmosphere is full of smoke. I check the gauge again. The generator's holding, but the needle is drifting toward the red. If I talk too long in one stretch, it'll drain faster. But silence isn't an option. Silence is worse than darkness. Let's talk about something practical. Not to distract you, but because knowledge makes fear easier to hold. If you live in a place with no basement, and you're staying on a ground floor or higher, here's what you need to do to make a safer corner. Take books, heavy books if you have them, and stack them in a line against the wall nearest the outside. Books absorb radiation better than most things in your home. Build a stack waist high if you can. Then put a heavy piece of furniture behind you. A dresser, a couch, anything with mass. The goal is simple. Put as much material as possible between you and the outside. If you live in a building with multiple floors, the center floor is the safest. If you're in a tall apartment block, floors 3 to 8 are better than the top or bottom. Avoid the roof. Avoid the basement if you're in a tall building. Too many pipes, too much exposure to ground-level contamination if the foundation cracks. If you're in a rural house with only one floor, put yourself in the centermost room. Bathrooms are good. Usually no windows, thick walls. Put blankets under the door to block airflow. You don't need to build a bunker. You just need to give the world fewer ways to reach you. Another call is trying to push through. The screen flickers like it might die any second, but I'm answering. You're on with Ethan. Who's this? There's static, then a voice. Older, breathy, shaking. My name is Robert. I'm in Eugene. Eugene. Far enough south to escape most direct fallout, but not far enough to be safe if the winds shift. Robert, I say. How are things down there? Oh, I don't know. Quiet. Too quiet. The grid died about an hour ago. I live alone. My wife passed last winter. My kids are both out of state. I tried calling them, but the phone just spins. Keeps spinning. He sucks in a breath. I heard a sound earlier, like thunder, but not thunder. Long, rolling. I checked outside, from behind the blinds, don't worry, and the sky was flickering, like lightning trapped in the clouds. That's likely atmospheric effects from distant detonations, I tell him. Not lightning, not storms, just energy still moving through the upper air layers. He breathes out slowly. I was afraid of that. I lived through the tail end of the Cold War, you know. I used to hear stories about what it would look like if it ever happened. I just never thought I'd see it. No one thought they'd see it, I say. Not really. Even the experts didn't think it would unfold like this. You said earlier that this is the first wave. His voice trembles. Are we expecting more? I wish I could lie to him. I really do. Possibly. But the first wave is usually the largest. The systems that launched those strikes are damaged now. Communication between command centers is fractured. The next waves, if they come, might be smaller, less coordinated. So there's still hope. There's always hope, I say. And for once, it doesn't feel like a line. It feels like the only truth worth saying. He sniffs. Thank you. I filled my bathtub. I put towels under the doors. I found my old Bible. Not because I'm trying to get holy all of a sudden. I just needed something that felt familiar. Hold on to it, I say softly. Familiar things keep you steady. Can I ask you something, Ethan? Something personal? Go ahead. You said your wife was at a hospital in Portland. Any chance they're still safe, those kids she's caring for? The words hit me harder than they should. I hope so, I say, voice tight. I hope she kept them in the basement like she said. Hospitals are designed to handle emergencies, even ones like this. He's quiet for a moment. I'll pray for her. Thank you, I whisper, and the line goes dead. I sit back, letting the silence in the booth stretch. It's so quiet, I can hear the faint crackle of dust settling on the window's outer frame. Every now and then, there's a faint tapping sound from somewhere up the ventilation shaft. Could be settling metal. Could be debris hitting the roof. Could be birds confused by the dark. Or it could be nothing at all. Just my nerves rearranging sounds into shapes. Let's talk about what we haven't talked about yet. The numbers. Before everything collapsed, a global network of researchers, journalists, and automated systems fed casualty estimates into every major outlet. The number climbed faster than anyone could track. 47 million in the first few hours. That's the last confirmed number. But let's be honest, that number is ancient now. It's dust. The real number is higher. A lot higher. And it's going to keep crawling upward as the hours pass, and the world realizes how many cities went silent all at once. But here's the part that matters. That number doesn't include you. You're alive. You're listening. That puts you in a shrinking category. The living. And the living have a responsibility to stay that way. Another boom outside. Fainter this time. A pop, then a rolling echo. Probably another substation dying. Or maybe something industrial collapsing under heat stress. The city's infrastructure is failing piece by piece. If you're somewhere with a functional structure, cherish it. Walls matter now more than ever. Let me take a moment to explain something that might save you tomorrow. In the aftermath of large-scale detonations, the air near the ground is filled with microscopic particles. They're not all lethal, but some carry radioactive isotopes that emit energy as they decay. The worst of that energy, the kind that can tear through cells, drops fast. Hours, not days. That's why the first day is the most dangerous. But the particles that remain in the environment, in soil, in open water, in dust, can linger for much longer. If you need to collect water later this week, don't collect from open sources. Not rivers, not puddles, not melted snow. Use rainwater only if you have a way to filter it. Real filters, not cloth. If you don't have filters, boil your stored water. Boiling doesn't remove radiation, but it kills bacteria that become a problem when sanitation fails. If you find canned food outdoors, wash the can thoroughly before opening. Dust can settle on anything. If you must go outside after the first 24 to 48 hours, wear layers. Not because they'll stop radiation, but because they catch dust. When you come back inside, remove the outer layers and leave them by the door. Don't shake them. Don't bring them into your living space. Keep your shoes outside if you can. These are the small things that keep you alive. I'm pausing again because something is happening outside. A siren. Not the classic alarm. Those are all dead. But a faint wail, rising and falling, coming from the direction of the river. Could be an ambulance. Could be a police cruiser running on backup power. Could be someone manually cranking an old civil defense siren. It grows, then fades, then grows again. Like someone trying to pull attention, but losing power halfway. It's eerie, the kind of sound that makes your bones feel cold. If you hear something similar where you are, don't follow it. Don't assume it's help. Tonight, help doesn't advertise. Tonight, safety is where you already are. I'm going to tell you something now that I wasn't sure whether to share, but you deserve to know. About an hour before the internet died, a shortwave signal popped up from somewhere far south, the kind of frequency usually used by distant maritime stations. A voice came through, broken, barely audible, but clear enough on certain words. I wrote them down on a scrap of paper. South Pacific, ships, coordinated, medical, coalition, northbound, then static. It might mean nothing. It might be wishful thinking. But if it's real, if ships from places like Australia, New Zealand, maybe parts of South America, are moving north for relief, that's something. A spark, a thread. I'm not letting myself believe it fully yet. But it's there. The generator makes another coughing noise. I tap the gauge. The needle dips, then rises slightly. I'll have to take breaks soon, short ones to conserve power. But I'm not leaving you yet. All right. Let's talk about something harder now. something you might not want to hear. Law and order, as you know it, is gone in a lot of places already. Police can't respond, not because they don't want to, because the network that supports them is shattered. Cars out of fuel, radios down, stations overcrowded or damaged. Firefighters can't fight fires without water. Paramedics can't drive through blocked streets. The National Guard, even if mobilized, can't operate effectively in a collapsing grid with jammed roads and uncertain airspace. That means neighborhoods will have to police themselves, not with violence, not with paranoia, but with boundaries. If someone tries to take everything you have, you must say no. If someone threatens your safety, protect yourself. If someone knocks at your door begging for water and you have enough to spare, give them a little. Not all, not nothing. Enough to keep humanity alive in both of you. If groups form, and they will, choose leaders carefully. Not the loudest person, not the angriest, the calmest. Calm people survive. I'm staying calm because you are listening, because your breath, wherever you are, is part of the rhythm holding this world together. Another vibration in the building, this time sharper. Something above shifted, a panel maybe. I hear faint debris sliding down the stairwell. Not a collapse, just settling. Buildings settle after shocks. Don't panic if yours does too. The lantern flickers, then steadies. My pulse jumps with it. We're still here. Before I pause for a moment to rest the generator, I want to leave you with this thought. You are not powerless. Even now, especially now, the small choices you make ripple outward. People will remember who shared a blanket, who offered half a can of soup, who checked on an elderly neighbor instead of barricading themselves in alone. This world isn't ending. It's changing, becoming something raw, stripped, fragile. And fragile doesn't mean doomed. Fragile things can grow again. They just need care. You're still here. That matters more than anything. I'll keep talking as long as this generator gives me breath to speak into this mic.